"You're not welcome at the wedding unless you contribute $5,000, my sister announced during our video call, and my brother-in-law actually smirked. Non-contributors sit in the back row. What they didn't know was that I'd been secretly paying their rent for 18 months straight. What happened when I finally pulled the plug will leave you speechless. My name is Rachel, and this is the story of how I learned that being the family's financial backbone doesn't guarantee you a seat at their table. If you've ever been treated like an endless bank account while simultaneously being treated like you don't matter, hit that subscribe button. Like this video if you believe generosity should be met with gratitude, not entitlement. And stay tuned because this story proves that sometimes walking away is the only way to stand up for yourself. Let's dive into this journey of exploitation and ultimate liberation. I'm Rachel Thompson. I'm 31 years old, and for the past 18 months, I've been the invisible pillar supporting my family's entire existence. I work as a software engineer at a mid-sized tech company in Portland, the kind of job where you solve impossible problems with elegant code and somehow make everything look effortless. I'm good at what I do, finding solutions, fixing broken systems, and making things work even when they absolutely shouldn't. It all began innocently enough. My sister Claire went through a brutal divorce 16 months ago. Her ex-husband Jake turned out to be a gambling addict who'd emptied their joint accounts and maxed out credit cards she didn't even know existed. She was left with 2 kids, a mountain of debt, and an apartment lease she couldn't afford alone. I stepped in because that's what sisters do, right? You catch them when they fall. Except catching someone and becoming their permanent crutch are 2 very different things. First, it was just until the divorce settlement comes through with her rent. Then it was groceries because the kids need to eat, Rachel. Then her car insurance, utility bills, and somehow, without ever having a single conversation about it, my monthly contributions became expected, demanded, and eventually invisible to everyone except my increasingly empty bank account. I wasn't wealthy. I lived in a modest 1-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood that real estate agents generously called emerging. I drove a 2016 Toyota with a cracked windshield I kept meaning to fix, packed lunches 4 days a week, and my idea of a splurge was buying name brand cereal instead of store brand. But I had something my family apparently lacked: financial discipline, consistent employment, and the organizational skills to keep bills paid on time. What I didn't have was the courage to tell them no. The cruel irony wasn't lost on me that while I was funding Claire's lifestyle, she'd post Instagram stories showing her kids in expensive new sneakers with captions like "Blessed Mom Life." She'd host wine nights with friends while I ate leftover pasta alone in my apartment. Scrolling through photos of gatherings I wasn't invited to, but was apparently subsidizing. The family group chat notification came on a Tuesday morning in late March, vibrating against my desk with an urgency that felt ominous. Wedding Planning Committee. Claire had renamed the chat, followed by a cascade of messages about venue options, floral arrangements, and bridesmaids' dresses that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. My sister was remarrying, a guy named Trevor she'd been dating for exactly 7 months. He worked in sales, drove a BMW he definitely leased, and had the kind of confidence that comes from never having experienced real consequences. I scrolled through the messages, watching names get assigned to various wedding responsibilities. Claire's best friend Lauren was handling decorations. Our cousin Emily was coordinating the bachelorette party. Our mother was apparently overseeing catering. My name appeared exactly once. Rachel, financial contribution $5,000. Not a question. Not a request, a budget line item. I typed back immediately, "I haven't agreed to contribute $5,000. Can we talk about this?" The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Then my phone rang. It was Claire on video call, and I could see Trevor lounging on the couch behind her, the couch in the apartment I'd been paying for. "Rachel, don't be difficult about this," she said without preamble. "Everyone's contributing according to their income level. You make good money, so your share is $5,000. It's only fair." "Fair would have been asking me first," I said, feeling my professional voice, the one I used in tense meetings, activate automatically. Trevor leaned into frame. "Family supports family, Rachel. Claire's told me all about how you like to nickel and dime everything. This is her special day. Don't ruin it with your accounting obsession." Accounting obsession, like tracking where your own money goes, was a personality disorder instead of basic adulting. "I need to think about it," I said. Claire's expression hardened. "Well, think fast. We're finalizing seating arrangements. Non-contributors will be seated in the back. We're reserving front rows for people who actually care about us." She ended the call before I could respond. I sat in my apartment that evening, staring at my laptop screen where a spreadsheet was slowly taking shape. Dates, amounts, descriptions, 18 months of rent payments to Claire's landlord sent directly from my account because it's easier if you just handle it, Rach. Grocery deliveries I'd ordered and paid for. The car repair that couldn't wait. The kids' school supplies. Her phone bill that somehow got added to my plan and never removed. The total at the bottom of the spreadsheet made my stomach twist. $34,780. Almost $35,000 over 18 months. Money that could have been a down payment on my own place, an actual vacation, or just peace of mind sitting in savings. Instead, it had evaporated into Claire's life, while my own got smaller and more cramped. That weekend, Mom called. "Rachel, sweetheart, Claire's very upset. You know how stressful wedding planning is. Can't you just be supportive?" "I've been supporting her for 18 months, I said quietly, "with rent money, every single month." There was a long pause. "Well, yes, but that's different. That was helping her get back on her feet. This is about showing up for family. By paying $5,000, other people are contributing too," Mom said, her voice taking on that edge of parental disapproval I knew so well. "Your brother is doing the photography. David is a professional photographer. That's literally his job. I'm being asked to just hand over $5,000 in cash." "You're being asked to invest in your sister's happiness," Mom corrected. "If you can't do that, well, perhaps you're not in the right mindset to be there anyway." The implication hung in the air like smoke. Contribute or be excluded. Pay up or don't bother showing up. I spent the next 3 days in a strange fog, going through the motions at work while my mind churned through every conversation, every transaction, every time I'd said yes when I meant no. My co-worker and friend Jennifer noticed me staring blankly at my monitor during lunch. "You okay?" she asked, sliding into the chair across from me. I told her everything. The rent payments, the wedding demand, the threat of back row seating like I was a distant acquaintance instead of the sister who'd been quietly preventing Claire's financial collapse for over a year. Jennifer listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from surprised to angry to something that looked like determination. When I finished, she leaned forward. "Rachel, you know what you need to do, right? I can't just stop helping her. She has kids. She'll lose her apartment. She has a fiancé with a BMW. She has a mother. She has her own 2 hands and a functioning brain. What she doesn't have is the right to treat you like an ATM while giving you the emotional equivalent of pocket lint." That conversation lodged in my brain like a splinter. That evening, I opened my banking app and started taking screenshots. Every rent transfer to Claire's landlord, every grocery order, every emergency Venmo request that became routine. I backed everything up to cloud storage, printed hard copies, and assembled them in a black folder that felt heavier than its actual weight. On the cover page, I wrote, "What I gave and what I'm taking back." The wedding was 6 weeks away. The next family group chat message came from Trevor himself. "Deadline for financial contributions, April 15th. After that, we're finalizing numbers and seating. No exceptions." I didn't respond. Instead, I spent the following evening methodically undoing 18 months of entanglement. I contacted Claire's landlord and removed my bank account from the automatic payment system. I sent Claire a certified letter, official, legal, undeniable, stating that I would no longer be providing financial support and that she needed to make alternative arrangements immediately. I removed her phone line from my family plan and switched it to a basic prepaid account. Everything clean, everything documented, everything mine again. The firestorm started 3 days later when Claire's rent payment bounced. My phone exploded with messages. Claire called 17 times before I finally answered on a Saturday morning, her voice shrill with panic. "Rachel, what the hell did you do? My landlord is threatening eviction. The rent didn't go through." "I know," I said calmly. "I sent you a letter explaining that I'm no longer covering your expenses." "You can't just do that," she screamed. "I have children. You also have a fiancé, a job, and a family that apparently has money for a lavish wedding but not for basic housing. Figure it out, Claire. You're destroying my life." "Mom, did you hear her?" I could hear Mom's voice in the background, high-pitched and scandalized. "I'd like to meet with both of you," I said. "Tomorrow afternoon, Claire's apartment, just the 3 of us." The silence that followed was loaded with uncertainty. "Fine," Claire finally said. "But you're paying for the damage you've caused." I hung up without responding. Sunday afternoon arrived with gray skies and the kind of spring rain that feels like the weather's in mourning. I drove to Claire's apartment, the apartment I'd been paying for, with my black folder on the passenger seat and a strange calm settling over me. They were both waiting. Claire with her arms crossed, Mom perched on the edge of the couch, looking worried. Trevor was notably absent, probably at his own apartment, the one he could apparently afford just fine. I set the folder on the coffee table between us. Before anyone yells, I said, "Look at this." Claire opened it with trembling hands. Her face went pale as she flipped through pages of bank statements, highlighted transactions, printed Venmo requests. 18 months of financial history laid out like evidence at trial. I didn't realize it was this much, she whispered. $34,780, I said. That's what I've given you since the divorce. Not loaned, given, because you never paid back a single dollar. Mom's hand went to her mouth. Rachel, why didn't you say something? I tried, I said, surprised by how steady my voice was. Every time I brought up money, you called me petty. When I questioned Marcus's promotion dinner, you banned me. Wait, wrong family. I shook my head. When I suggested Claire budget better, you told me I was being unsupportive. When I hesitated about the wedding contribution, Trevor called it an accounting obsession. We thought you were doing fine, Mom said weakly. I am doing fine, because I sacrifice, I budget, I go without so you can have more. And instead of gratitude, I got a $5,000 invoice and a threat to sit in the back row of a wedding I've been indirectly funding through 18 months of rent payments. Claire's eyes were red. I didn't know you were struggling. I'm not asking for the money back, I said clearly. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to tell you it stops now. I'm done being your solution, your safety net, your emergency fund. I'm done being treated like I don't matter while my bank account is the only thing about me that does. What about the wedding? Claire asked, her voice small. I haven't decided if I'm coming, I said honestly, but I'm definitely not contributing $5,000. If that means I sit in the back, fine. If it means I'm not invited, that's fine too. Either way, I'm done apologizing for having boundaries. Mom looked stricken. Rachel, we're family. Then act like it, I said quietly. Treat me like family instead of an ATM. Ask instead of demand. Appreciate instead of expect. And for God's sake, stop punishing me for being responsible. I stood up, leaving the folder on the table. There are instructions in there for setting up automatic payments, budget templates, and resources for financial counseling. You're both capable adults. I believe in you enough to let you handle your own lives. Walking out into that rainy afternoon felt like shedding a weight I'd been carrying so long I'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. I sat in my car for a long time, watching rain streak down the windshield, and felt something I hadn't felt in 18 months. Free. The weeks that followed were strange and quiet. The family group chat went silent for 3 days, then erupted with logistical wedding questions that had nothing to do with me. Claire sent a single text. Trevor's moving in early. We'll figure out rent. Mom called twice, leaving voicemails that started apologetic and ended with gentle suggestions that I think about what family means. I thought about it, and I realized family shouldn't mean erasing yourself to fill someone else's gaps. I didn't contribute to the wedding. I did eventually decide to attend, and when I arrived, there was a seat in the third row with my name on it. Not the front, but not the back either. Progress, maybe. Or just Claire realizing she'd pushed too far. Trevor barely made eye contact. Claire hugged me briefly, whispering, "Thank you for coming," in a way that felt genuine but careful, like she was handling something fragile she'd nearly broken. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is stop doing what's killing you, even when people call it selfish, especially when they call it selfish. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who confused your generosity with guaranteed access to your bank account? Share your story in the comments. Someone out there is struggling with the same decision and needs to know they're not alone. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about people who chose themselves over toxic family dynamics. Remember, boundaries aren't betrayal. They're self-respect with a spine. And sometimes the best thing you can give your family is the opportunity to stand on their own 2 feet without standing on yours.